We are back live here on our big broadcast. We are coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio today. Also AMFM247.com. Tune in, iTunes, and you can find us each and every day over there at JiggyJaguar.com. We have got a great guest joining us here on the line. Michael Butler is going to be with us here in just a few moments. He has a fantastic book. It's called Without Redemption. Michael joins us on the telephone. Michael, welcome to the broadcast. How are you, sir?
Hello, James. How are you doing?
Pretty good, actually. Pretty good, actually. Now, this book, Without Redemption, about serial killers and all sorts of different things. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to write this incredible book.
Well, I fell into the project by accident. I was asked by the other author. There's two authors on this project, Vonda Pelto, who had a previous book about serial killers called Without Remorse, which emanates from her experience as a clinical psychologist working with serial killers and murderers at Los Angeles Men's Central Jail in the years 1981 to 84. And her job was to not to counsel them necessarily, but to keep them from harming themselves, because they were in the jail either awaiting trial or in trial or just after the trial. And so she wrote a book about that. And then this second project is specifically about one person she dealt with by the name of Bill Bonnet, who was called the Freeway Killer. So this is essentially a historical biography of the Freeway Killer, Bill Bonnet, the guys he recruited to help him kill. And it's basically his whole life, from his whole family life, and the things that happened that turned him into this person around the age of 33 or so. And wow. He murdered 22 teenage boys in 10 months from August 1979 to June of 1980.
Holy smokes. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. Michael Butler is with us, the author of Without Redemption, and he joins us today here on our big program. So how did you link up with your co-authors to be able to bring this book to life?
Okay, what happened was I helped promote her first book, so I knew Vonda from her first book, and then she was writing this, and it was kind of, she was stuck to a certain degree, so she asked me to try and help kind of ghostwrite and organize her existing manuscript. And after a couple months of working with it, I told her we should just tear it apart and start from scratch. Because also, she had been given about 20 boxes of investigative documents from a guy who worked for Riverside County by the name of Gene Briscoe. So we had thousands of pages of documents about Bonnet's whole life, which included his own diaries from when he was in jail, where he also wrote a number of the murder stories as well. So I decided we're going to start from scratch. I organized all the documents chronologically and by subject, and we essentially started from day one and worked our way through. And there was a lot of material, so we ended up with a very detailed biography, and my guess is it's one of the most detailed historical biographies of any serial killer, because we have all the reports from time he spent in mental hospitals, in prisons, his Vietnam War record, the reports from where he was in an orphanage, and then we've got his diaries from when he was in jail and they were making deals, to testify or not testify. So the book ended up being 540 pages. It's very detailed, and it's got a whole bunch of different angles all within one story. So my guess is it's one of the most detailed biographies of any serial killer.
Wow. That is awesome. It is Michael Butler. He's with us today. He joins us live talking about Without Redemption, which is a brand new book that he helped bring to life and co-author with a few other folks. So, what do you want folks to get out of the book?
Well, there's a number of of important points that come through. First of all, you get the psychological evolution of Bill from childhood, abused child, to sexual predator, to serial killer. And we're able to identify those points along the way where his personality was adversely affected, or he picked up things that later became part of his MO. So first you get that. Second, through his diaries and the stories he wrote about the killings, you really get an idea of how he thought and how his mind worked. Because he wasn't stupid. And if he hadn't gone down this particular path, he could have been, a fairly accomplished person. But so you really get a sense of that. And then the other part of it is what happened after he was arrested. Because after he was arrested, it's very interesting. There's about 10 months there. He was arrested in June of 1980. And from June of 1980 to March 81, many, many different things happened with the prosecutors, with the witnesses, with other investigations. Because when they arrested him, they had no evidence, because he was very smart. He left very little evidence. And they had no idea of his accomplices, and there were 5 of them who helped him along the way with different killings. And so you get that story with all the detectives and the lawyers and the prosecutors and the media and how they're playing it. And so you get the whole media outlook too. So it's really kind of 5 different stories all woven together throughout the whole book. And it goes all the way to then he was executed at San Quentin about 15 years after he was convicted. So it's very interesting in that respect, too, because all those negotiations and everything is going on. It's fascinating.
We have got a great guest with us today. Michael Butler is with us. He's the author of Without Redemption, and he joins us today here on our big broadcast. And this is a brand new book. It is basically the creation and deeds of the Freeway Killer and his 5 accomplices, and how one who escaped justice. And this book, absolutely incredible. So tell me a little bit about your writing process, writing with the good doctor.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that you might find amusing is when I was creating the murder sequences, there was stuff from interviews he did with detectives. There was testimony from a couple of his accomplices, and then there were his writings about what happened. And while I was writing that part of the book, I had a lot of nightmares. And so what I started doing was, and it took many months to write that part of the book, I started watching at night all the most syrupy romantic comedies I could find, because I had to wash my brain every night after going through and trying to write all these murder sequences. But also part of the book is how she interacted with Bill Bonnet. Vonda Pelto was in L.A. Men's Central Jail, and a vital part of the book is how how Bill and her, the stuff they discussed in like their sessions. They had these non-confidential sessions, and she was there to essentially make sure that these inmates didn't harm themselves. So she had to monitor them. So they weren't really psychological counseling sessions per se. They were more just chit-chats. And so those come into play also because he told her about murders. He told her certain things that were kind of interesting. And so her interaction with him is also a key part of the book. And that goes all the way through to the end, because she was meeting with him before, during, and after the trial. And that's also really interesting. So those parts of the book, were written by her, and then we collaborated on all the rest in terms of, and there's a lot of little things that I discovered. Like one of the days in the middle of the murder spree, there's a day when all these coincidental events happened that ended up having a dramatic effect later on in terms of deals and who got a deal and who testified and what Bonin did. And I discovered those, and we discovered them together later in the writing process. And this is something no one has ever realized in the Bonin story, how important this one day was and why. And the other thing is, we reveal for the first time how Bonin covered for one of his accomplices. That's why this guy escaped justice, because Bonin covered for him, and he helped him with 2 murders. So this guy, he walked away and never was prosecuted for anything. And we reveal that for the first time in this book, because everyone kind of suspected maybe, but his name has been largely left out of this narrative, and we have his diaries showing how this guy helped him.
We have got a tremendous guest to this today. Michael Butler is with us. Without Redemption is the latest from him, and he joins us today here on our big program. So what's been some feedback or advanced reviews or whatever you've gotten on the book so far?
Well, I'll tell you, James, I've done your show a number of times over the years, and we've worked together, and the book just came out not more than 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So it is just out. I just got a copy to someone who's in the book, a journalist who was a TV reporter and who interviewed Bonin, and he's a key part of the story also. And I just met with him this morning. His name is Dave Lopez, and he's got a book out about his own career in journalism. So I met with him this morning. I gave him a copy. He was very keen to read it because he's in it. So really, we haven't gotten feedback from other people yet. But everyone who's seen it, because the book is substantial. It's 6x9 paperback. We also have the hardback is also available, probably be available tomorrow on Amazon. And it came out very nice. The book itself is comfortable to read. I really loved the way it came out, 6x9 paperback. But it's a long read, and it's a detailed book with a lot of little things in it. So I'm at the beginning of the PR process, James. So you're my first show. I'm popping my cherry with you, buddy.
Well, I definitely want to get you on with Don Mazzella some Thursday, and potentially Josh Bernstein and a few others, because this book is amazing. Without Redemption,
it really came out well. And
yes,
it did. I worked on it. Vonda worked on it for 3 years, and then when I came along, it took me another 3 to get it done. Now, we also, in the middle of the writing, we had the whole COVID thing happen. So it got put on pause for about, say, 8 or 10 months, maybe a little longer. And then I started up again. And it was a real grind, but it's something I never thought I would end up doing, but I'm really pleased with how it came out. And I think a lot of people are going to realize it's got a lot of interesting aspects, and it's a good historical biography. I'm hoping, I'm praying.
So what is next for you as an author?
Well, right now I'm only dealing with what's in front of me right now, and that's promoting the book. I'm also doing some other things on the side. I'm doing some contract work for a couple of other firms here and there, writing news releases and stories and whatnot. But for the time being, it's trying to promote the book and get it out there and get as much as we can. I dedicated it to my kids who are 12 and 14, and now I wanted them to see, something very substantial come out of my efforts. And so I hope that, I know it's a bad subject for kids, but I want them to know how hard I worked, and that it's a substantial thing. So that's also was part of my motivation to finish it.
That's awesome.
But I think it's going to be good, and I think I'm going to send you a copy so you can check it out. I think you'll like it. And, you know, it's a tough process. And now the other hard part, as you know, because you interview so many authors, is promoting it.
Yes.
Getting people to sit up and take notice of it. And so that's what's going on now.
So where do you see...
It's available on Amazon.
Yes.
And also I built a terrific website at withoutredemption.com.
Yes, I was looking at that earlier. That is a fantastic,
fantastic
it's got a book
trailer
website
up there. It's got interviews from Vonda actually on your show. If you look under one of the tabs, under the radio show tab, you'll see a Vonda interview with you, which took place a number of years ago.
Yes,
by the first book.
Yep. Well, this book is amazing. I appreciate you making time for us today, and I'm definitely going to see what we can do about getting you on with Dawn and Dan at some point. And
anytime. You call me up anytime, I'll be ready to go.
Well, I'm going to shoot you an email with some dates and some times, so I will do that as soon as we get done here. But before we let you go, how do people get the book?
Okay, withoutredemption.com is fully linked up to Amazon. You can go directly to Amazon and, put in without. But there's a lot of books named Without Redemption on Amazon. So the best bet is to go to withoutredemption.com, and the links to Amazon are everywhere. So you'll find them all over the place, and you can easily get there as well.
Fantastic.
And I appreciate you having me on, James.
Oh, definitely. I always love talking to you, and I'm going to be sending you an email with some information to get you on some other shows. So thanks for doing this, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you, Michael.
Take care. Stay safe.
Appreciate it, brother. There he goes. That is Michael Butler, the fantastic Michael Butler. And we have got more coming up on the other side.